Okay, good morning everybody. So this week I'm going to be doing a demo on an elk rice and vegetable soup. It's a recipe I got from when I was working at the Native American Community Clinic in Minneapolis. So it is more of an Ojibwe recipe. It's meant to be made with wild rice. I don't have any wild rice yet, but I should be getting some soon from the Red Lake Nation. But today we're just going to use brown rice instead. Both brown rice and wild rice have a lot of good fiber, which is really good for your heart health and for your digestive health. So that's why we're using those, or we're using brown rice today instead of white rice, because a lot of that fiber is lost. So we have a big old soup pot here. I'm going to add our onion and garlic to it. We have some olive oil in there already. You could also use canola oil or vegetable oil. And then I'm going to go ahead and add 2 pounds of ground elk meat. And so I defrosted these in the microwave. That is a food safe way to defrost your meat. You can also defrost by running under like 70 degree water, running water. But it's really not a good idea to just leave your food or your meat sitting out on the counter for hours on end. That can cause bacteria to grow on your meat, so don't leave your food sitting out at room temperature. You can also defrost meat by putting it in the refrigerator, so that's a food safe temperature, and just leaving it like that for a few hours, or the whole night or whole day. It takes a little bit longer doing it that way, but if you're trying to do it quickly, you can do it in the microwave pretty quickly. So this recipe, it features a lot of fall or winter seasonal root vegetables. So we're going to add in carrots, we're going to add in celery. We're also adding in a couple of rutabagas. They're kind of a starchy root vegetable. Some parsnips. They're kind of like a white carrot. I really like the flavor though. They go really well in crock pot stews, soups, all different, casseroles, anything you could basically put a carrot in. You can use these guys, just roast them in the oven. And then turnips too. They had really huge turnips at the grocery store. At the farm I worked at, usually they're a little bit smaller, but they're kind of that purple-white kind of color. So I was going to just show how to break those down. I've already snipped off the ends. But once you do that, you kind of have a flat surface to cut on. So we'll cut this guy. It's easier too if you have a sharp knife. I'm just going to cut them into kind of smallish chunks. The smaller the chunks, the faster it'll cook. And I've cooked with rutabagas before. We did mashed rutabagas instead of mashed potatoes. So like I said, they're very similar to the sweet potato or regular potato, starchy. You can definitely kind of use them similarly. Parsnips, like I said, are like carrots, but a different flavor. turnips. Turnips are a little bit like radishes, although they don't have that spice. So we did 2 turnips, 2 sticks of parsnips, 2 rutabagas. I did about 3 or 4 carrots and a couple of stalks of celery. I also did a whole onion and about probably like 6 cloves of garlic that are in there with the meat right now. And that again is 2 pounds of ground elk meat. We're looking to get that meat nice and brown. We don't want to see any pink. We want our onions to be translucent and soft. So our rice is already cooked. That's what it calls for, and we'll just add it in, in the last 30 minutes or so. I have about 8 cups of the mixture of chicken and beef broth. You can use chicken, beef, or vegetable. And then we're also going to be using some low sodium B8. Kind of adds like a tomato flavor, tomato broth flavor. And then other ingredients we're going to be using salt, pepper, of course, and some parsley flakes and thyme. I also have some fresh sage, so we'll add that towards the end as well. Typically you add your fresh herbs and spices in the last 30 minutes. So I'll just do some salt and pepper on our meat here, our meat and onions and garlic. Alright, so our meat is pretty much all browned. I don't see any pink in here. So that's a good sign that it's cooked through. I'm going to break up some of the larger chunks just to be sure, but yeah, it's all cooked down. So I'm going to go ahead and add our vegetables. You definitely need a big pot for this recipe, but you can always cut it in half. Do just 1 pound of meat and half the veggies. Okay, so this is our 8 cups of a mixture of chicken and beef broth. Go ahead and add that. And then we'll add our V8. So we needed 4 cups of V8. So they'll end up using this whole 6-pack of these little 5.5-ounce cans. Again, we're using the low sodium variety. Because it's better for your heart health, for your blood pressure to eat low sodium. Most people eat way too much sodium or salt. That's because a lot of people get it from processed foods, from packaged foods, from restaurants or fast food. Pizza dough is a high source, deli meats, canned soups. Canned goods, you gotta drain and rinse those. But cooking, adding a little bit of salt to your food is not gonna add too much, especially this whole giant pot of food is gonna get dispersed. There's multiple portions in here. Also, you get to control how much salt or sodium you're adding. that makes a difference as well. In this recipe, it serves about 10 to 15 people. So if you have a big family, it'll definitely feed everyone. If not, you'll have leftovers, and that's a great budget-friendly way to live and eat. Is, you know, make a bunch of food and save it. Eat the leftovers throughout the week for lunch, for dinner. Definitely is more cost-friendly, budget-friendly than making a new meal or eating out every day. Okay, now I'm just going to add some of our dried herbs, and we're going to cook this on medium to low heat for about 45 minutes to an hour. It just kind of depends how long it takes the vegetables to soften, and that depends on how small or large you cut your vegetables. So if you cut them in really big chunks, it's probably going to take a little bit longer to cook. If you did smaller chunks, it'll take less time. So I'm doing about 2 teaspoons of thyme. I'll do about 2 teaspoons of parsley. And you can kind of add whatever spices you want. You could do rosemary, marjoram. We're going to add some fresh sage in the last 30 minutes. But it's kind of up to you what you like and what flavors you like in your stew. Just going to put the lid on so it gets hot again. Just let it cook like that for a little bit. And then, like I said, in the last 30 minutes, we'll add the sage, we'll add our rice, and then we're also going to add some frozen chopped spinach. You could do whatever wild greens you want. You could do dandelion greens, carrot tops, whatever greens you want. You could put kale, collard greens in there, whatever you prefer. Okay, so now I'm going to go ahead and add our rice. Our vegetables are starting to get really soft here, so just add our rice, which is already cooked. We cooked it ahead of time. We're doing about 2 cups. We'll do a little bit more, but it's about 2 cups. And then add our fresh sage and some chopped frozen spinach, but like I said, add whatever greens you have. Add some more nutrients to this dish. So yeah, now you just have to wait for everything just to get warmed up, cooked. Shouldn't take too long, and you'll have your meal ready.